Alright, so we're about to do our first test with the 7.3 diesel F350. This test is going to be our baseline test. We're going to use the same route every time. I've got to go down and get a new air filter because the other air filter is junk, and I want this to be a good test. This air filter is old and dirty and I don't feel like cleaning it, so we're going to stop in town, get a new air filter. But first I want to go ahead and show you that we got our ductwork done. I've got the vaporizer down in here. I've already shown that on another video. Well, actually I may show this part in this video, I'm not sure yet. So anyway, everything is set up the way it's going to be with the vaporizer and the hydrogen and everything else. So this baseline will be with the ductwork the way it is with the new filter after I get the filter. And we'll start that test after this. So I just want to show how we start up this 7.3 diesel. Been doing this, I've had this truck for 30 years. I've been starting it the same way for 30 years because right after I got it, I put new glow plugs in it, and they lasted about a year, and they started going out one at a time, and I just got tired of replacing glow plugs. So I'd say after the first 3 years or something like that, I didn't use glow plugs anymore. Plus that was up north where I needed them, and I started using starter fluid and a little spray of ether is all you need. So I'll show that when I start it. So first thing he's got to do, first of all, this truck has no safety switches. Everything that was safety about this truck to start with is no longer an issue. The neutral safety switch, the clutch, which may be the same thing. So you can start this truck in gear. Now the key is off, so I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. I have a push button here for remote starting. Obviously it just goes right over to my solenoid, and I can do that with a screwdriver. But with me, I have two hands. One hand on the ether, the other hand on the start button, and just one little tiny sniff. All it needs is a little sniff of ether, and this thing fires right up. Doesn't matter how cold it is. Sometimes it needs a little bit more when it's really cold, but this is Florida, so 20s is about as cold as we get. And so anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the key on. We already know it's in neutral. So once we get the key on, we kick the throttle up one time. That allows that solenoid to open. That keeps the high idle. And then we're going to crank it over and give it one little squirt. Now we're good to go. I'm going to jump in, take it for a ride. This feels a lot better in here. A little bit quieter. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and fill up gas, diesel, obviously. See what she takes. Fill her all the way up. So it stops. I'll stand here. We can see, not sure if we can see the amount there or not. Alright, so it took 7.6. Now we're full. I'm going to use the same pump when we come back. Okay. Alright, so that's just for our baseline. Zoom you back out. Hope you can see that. 7.6. 7.6 is what it took. So now we're going to do our route. And I'm not sure exactly how many miles that is yet. So before I start, unfortunately, Waze app doesn't give me the ability, and the odometer doesn't work on this truck. So I had to figure something out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start my Waze app, and then I've got this Vimeo or something. There's another app that keeps track of your trip, and it'll email me the trip when I'm done. I don't care about Google. I hate Google. So, okay, we're gonna, let's see here. I'm just gonna select home, and gonna calculate the route. So anyway, I'm just selecting home, but we're not going home.
US 17 in Lake Como
All right.
Drive.
It's going to make a bunch of racket. Report voice, not now. So I want to turn the volume down on this so it's not making a bunch of racket while I'm driving. Because otherwise, it's just going to get irritating. So I've got my Waze app started. Now what that should do is it should start my other app and keep track of the trip for me. So I'm going to put this over here. Now, one thing about the Waze app that I like, and which is why I'm using it, besides being able to keep track of the miles that I've traveled on the other app, when I start Waze, that app automatically starts. This gives me miles per hour, which this truck doesn't do. So I'm going to be using the Waze app for my miles per hour. And that's going to kind of give me an idea how quickly, how fast I'm driving. I'm driving back roads, so we're not going to get over 60 miles an hour anyway. All right. So we'll start our trip. And then when we're done with the trip, we'll come back here. Same pump, same fill method. All right, shut up. I'm going to have to turn that volume down even more because she ain't going to shut up until I get home, because it's going to be like, you're going the wrong way. You're going the wrong way. Turn around. Do a U-turn. Anyway. All right. So we're going to go back roads in a loop. We're actually going to do a loop. We're going to end up back in the same place. I don't remember how many miles that is. We're going to find out. My average speed is probably going to be about 50 miles an hour. So I can guesstimate about how far I've driven by how many miles I've gone. Now, one of the things about this truck, it's it's a 1990 F350 7.3 diesel, naturally aspirated IDI. no turbo. So just put a new filter on before we started our test, and we just filled up. So we know that tank is full. We'll be switching tanks or anything like that. There are 2 tanks. But I don't use that switching valve, even though I replaced it and it's new. I don't use it unless I have to. With this being a manual injection pump, you can't run it out of fuel. If you run it out of fuel, then you gotta. I can't believe that happens still that loud. Anyway, you can't run this out of fuel because if you do, you have to bleed all of the injection lines. Now I do have electric pump, and that helps. If you had a manual pump and you were trying to do that, good luck. So I do have electric, but I'm not gonna run this thing out of fuel. I know when it's about to run out of fuel because the RPM speed up, it gets air into fuel, and it actually has doubles the power. So I know when it's about to run out because all of a sudden it'll just want to take off, and running at that lean is not good for the engine. Oh my goodness! How do I mute? I already turned the volume all the way down. There is no volume left, and it's still telling me I done shut you down. Oh my God! I'm gonna have to go into settings. Man, oh man. Okay, so you definitely don't want to go into settings while you're driving. I've shut the volume all the way down, and it's still. That's crazy. Yeah, it's called Cisco. It's Cisco Road. Itching. Air tart. Itching. Things you can't say on YouTube. Air tart. Itching. She's both, but what you gotta do. Hopefully, I don't have to listen to her anymore. I hit mute, so hopefully that worked. We'll see. She's gonna tell me to turn around here pretty soon. Now, I don't know how the sound is in here. It's a little noisy. I did put the interior back together. I had been working on this truck doing rust repair. So I did a lot of welding, and this truck had rust when I got it 30 years ago. And even being in Florida, it just continues to rust. And I've painted it a few times over the years. I paint it about every 10 years. It's due. It's going to get paint. Anyway, so I was doing rust repair, and I had all the interior out because I had to do floorboards, the back of the cab, all of it. I just half-assed the back of the cab, but I did put in new metal on the roof, the gutters, around the windshield. Got a new windshield. There is still a little bit of rust to fix under the windshield and the windshield gutter that will leak down onto my floorboard under the dash. So I do need to get that fixed. But I want to do that right before I paint. So I can just get that in there, prime over it, and then paint it. I'm just going to use some fiberglass. But I haven't done any body work yet on it. I'm holding off on the body work until after I've done some testing. So I guess about 10, 15 years ago, maybe more, I had a setup on here with a vaporizer. I had a lot going on in there. I don't even remember all the things I had going on, but it was a lot. Trust me when I say it was a lot, it was a lot. I had magnets, LEDs, laser. I had multiple lasers, hydrogen, of course, high voltage, which was an issue, which we're going to try to stay away from the high voltage this time. But if I do have to use high voltage to get them results, then I will, but I'll do it differently. And then obviously fog. Now the foggers I was using were very temperamental, and 15 years ago you couldn't really get good foggers. I mean, they just didn't exist. So these foggers were really, really temperamental, and I couldn't make the foggers. First of all, I couldn't vary the amount of fog, and second, I couldn't keep the fogger working the same all of the time. So the fogger was kind of a hit and miss. But fog in a diesel engine increases horsepower. It also cools the combustion chamber. So if you're running lean, the fog is going to help make up for the excess fuel that you would be burning to keep the combustion chamber cooler, keep the engine cool. Excess fuel is used to prevent overheating engines. It's used in every engine the same way. Diesel is no different than gasoline in that respect. Most people with these will turn the fuel up so they can roll coal. But all you're doing is wasting fuel. You're not really getting an improvement. I mean, you do get a slight improvement if it was running a little bit lean, but really what you're getting is cooler engine temps, and you're wasting a lot of fuel. So we're going to be doing the opposite. With this, we're looking to increase fuel mileage, not power. We will be increasing power as a side effect, but that's not the goal. More horsepower will translate, and torque will translate to better mileage because you have to give it less gas. You have to push the gas pedal down less to get it motivating. And this truck weighs over 5,000 pounds. I don't know. I don't know how much, but it's well over 5,000. I think it's 5,600 if I remember right. Don't quote me on that. But this is a heavy truck. It's a dually crew cab. You know, now I don't have it loaded down right now. It's basically just the interior, front and back seat. You know, the basics. So it's in its fighting weight right now. So whatever it said it was, 5,600, it's probably about what it is. But no, I haven't weighed it empty, which I may want to do at some point. But I'm just saying that so that we have a reference, especially since we should end up with about 15 miles per gallon. This truck has always done 15 miles per gallon, even when it's loaded down. Even when I got the toolbox full, I got the back of the truck full, and I'm pulling a trailer loaded down with all my stuff, which I couldn't do. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of trailers for my stuff. But, 15 is pretty much what this truck's going to do day in, day out, no matter the driving conditions. So we pretty much bet, if I was a betting man, which I am, I would bet we're going to get 15 miles per gallon on this setup with the air intake the way that I have it. Really, the air intake isn't going to make hardly any difference. Now the old filter might have. That's why I went ahead and replaced the filter. Unfortunately, I had a $20 discount on at AutoZone. Thank you, AutoZone, for that discount, because that air filter was $45. So I didn't want to wait for an air filter from eBay, Slow Bay. In fact, I had ordered one over a week ago and it didn't show up, so I went ahead and canceled it. But you know what'll happen? They'll get the cancel order and then they'll hurry up and ship it so they can say that they shipped it before they got the cancel order. Because that's how they do it. They're lazy, they do something, then all of a sudden when you want the damn money back, then they ship it, then they can get off their ass, then they can do something. So, anyway. Good old Slow Bay. Well, I don't know if y'all want to watch me or watch the road, but you can let me know in the comment if you're tired of staring at my ugly mug. I'll turn the camera around and you can see where I'm going. It's actually pretty good scenery. You know, where I live in Florida, it's between a river and a creek with two big lakes on each side of it. I'm actually in, it's almost a peninsula. We're surrounded by water on three sides. The only way to, if you were walking and there wasn't a bridge, the only way to get out of here is to go across water. And so St. John's River is on one side, Dunn's Creek is on the other. And there's some big lakes attached to St. John's River. Beautiful, well, I say beautiful. It's a beautiful area. 60 to 100 years ago, the water was pretty clear. Now the water is shit because, did I say that? Anyway, the water is bad because they spray for weeds. And I say they. If you talk to water management, they don't know anything about it. But they pay the people who do the spraying. It's crazy. It's a government entity that lies about what they do while they do it. And then when they're busted, they claim innocence. You know, stupidity, which stupidity is not a defense. If you try that, it ain't gonna fly. But somehow they're able to get away with it. So, water management is water destroyment. I don't know what you'd say, but anyway, that's a sore issue with me. I don't like what they're doing. See, with plant life, aquatic life, plants clean water. The roots pick up impurities. The roots filter water. The plants actually use the impurities in the water to live. Now, I'm talking about plant life breaking down or fish waste. That's fertilizer. But fertilizer is different. So plants don't like fertilizer runoff from fields because it's too much nitrogen or whatever. It's a chemical thing. And also there's bad chemicals, Roundup and other stuff that that they do filter out some, but it also kills a lot of plants. On top of that, you got bass fishermen. This is the bass capital of the world, or at least it was. Now it's the bass okay capital of the world. It's, so the bass fishermen got the water management district to spray for weeds and control weeds so that their props didn't get weeds in them, so that their intakes didn't get weeds, get clogged up with weeds. And over time, water management did that, and they ended up killing the river. They killed fish, they killed plants, which kills fish. There's no food. I mean, shrimp. Shrimp are born in the river, and if there's no food for them, the shrimp population drops, which affects the ocean. So all the things that they did to the river affect the food chain, affect which fish have enough to eat, which, plankton. It affects everything. And as with most government agencies, they never think ahead. They only see what they're doing right now, and they don't think about consequences. And besides, why would they when there are none? All they have to do is deny that they're doing it, and they pay a company to do it. And I've seen them out there spraying. And I've asked them, and they won't answer questions. They'll ignore you. They'll act like you're not even there. And they're spraying poison in the water. Water I would get in. I used to go get duckweed, little green plants that float on the water, got little roots on the bottom. And I would go collect duckweed because I had actually one of my videos, aquaponics setup, which, by the way, in Florida, aquaponics is the way to go. But so I had this aquaponics set up, and I used to go get duckweed from the river, bring that back home, and I'd pick up some other stuff too, whatever's growing, to throw in there. But the fish would eat that. Now that supplemented fish food. I didn't have to feed the fish near as much, and they got fresh greens to eat. So. Because it was tilapia that I kept in the tank. They supplied the fertilizer for the plants. Symbiotic relationship. The whole thing is symbiotic. Use rainwater. I mean, I didn't have to put water in it as long as I didn't spring a leak in my pipes, which would happen if occasionally I'd have roots get too thick, and it would clog up my pipe and it would push all the water out. And I'd come out there to feed the fish, and all the fish are laying there in no water. So, live and learn. So I learned about trimming roots, especially on the tomato plants. The tomato plants would have roots 10 foot long, and they would just get as big around as the pipe. And eventually they'd clog the pipe completely. So I had to go in there and pull them out, trim the roots back, drop them back in, which didn't hurt them a bit. But I usually waited until they got big enough to do that where it wouldn't affect the fruit. But, sometimes I'd just give them a little trim, slap it back in the same hole. Anyway, you gotta have plant life to keep the water clean. And and go around spraying for damn weeds because they're a nuisance, you end up affecting the entire ecosystem negatively. And, you know, this is a fish hatchery right here. It's actually Walaka National Fish Hatchery. They have ponds where they breed fish, and they supply those fish to the river. Crazy enough, it's crazy. They don't know what the hell they're doing, but they just keep doing it anyway. So there you are. Well, it's getting a little warm. I can't start derobing, so I'm going to open up the window and hopefully the noise isn't too bad. Now, this is one way to go, but I don't remember if this is the way that I went before, but this is the way I'm going to go. Loop around. So this is be a little bit more than halfway right now. Now I wanted to do a 60-mile trip. This is probably going to be more like 30. And later on, I'm going to do longer trips, depending on what testing I'm doing. But you know, I definitely need to do a durability test for the system once I have it working right. And you know, I need to run it through the paces. So I'm going to need a longer trip for that. And you know, who knows? Maybe I'll do 800-mile trip or 1,600-mile round trip or something like that. When I get, let's just say that I get 45 miles a gallon, triple the mileage, 300% increase. I'm probably going to go do a trip. If I get anything above that, I'm definitely going to make a trip. I'm going to do enough testing to know that this is going to make it throughout the trip. That I've got enough water, I've got enough fuel on board. So without having to stop and get fuel, I'll have to stop and go to the bathroom. I'll have to stop to eat, drink, and things like that, and sleep, obviously. And also, I broke my back a couple of times last year, so sitting in a chair or in a seat. Now this seat is pretty comfortable. I gotta give it that. I've driven this truck hundreds of miles at a time, and my back don't hurt me in this truck because the seat's pretty comfortable. But I do have to get out and stretch my legs, stand up, walk around, stretch out a lot more than I used to. So a long trip for me is going to be really tough. And my grandson is getting married in about a month. So if I've got this worked out in a month, I might make that trip in this truck. We'll see. If I'm getting at least 45 miles a gallon, I'll do that. So this is our baseline testing. This is the motor set to stock. And I say that, but I don't know exactly where the fuel metering valve was when I started. I do know that the last time I did my test and I put everything back the way it was, I put it back the way it was to start with, and I turned it a little bit more so that I could get more black smoke out when I floor it. I mean, that's when you shouldn't see black smoke when it's idling. Then you've gone too far. But when you get on it, you should see some. You should be rolling gold, and that's how I've got it set up. So that's where we're starting, and once we start running hydrogen and fog, that's going to increase horsepower, and it's going to keep the cylinder cooler. And the hydrogen is going to replace some of the fuel. I can't have too much hydrogen because it's a diesel and you'll get detonation, backfire, pre-ignition. So you don't want that. Got behind the grader. Well, looks like we're going to have to test out the throttle response here. Should get all right. Anyway, so hydrogen and water vapor. And by the way, this time I'm going to have way more control and way more vapor to work with. What I'll be doing is I'll be watching my temperature. Now, right now, this truck will run, as long as it's not hot outside, it'll run between 190 and 195. That's where we want it to run. I don't want it to run any more than 200 at the most. And that's when it's hot outside. So if it's over 80 degrees outside, I don't want this thing running more than 200. Because temperatures up that high will cause cavitation, and even though I have an additive in the coolant, cavitation's bad. If you get cavitation, you're going to be replacing the block or putting sleeves in it, which I had done after I bought this truck. But anyway, so that's going to be our basis. Then we can start doing fuel. Now, when I had the really good results before, when I pulled up to a stoplight, everybody would look over at me because they could smell French fries. And I'll tell you, it made me hungry. I love the smell of waste veggie oil in the diesel. I love that smell. And, that's when I got the best mileage. I did notice that the vegetable oil gave me more, I don't know if you would call it calories, I'm not sure about all the fuel terms, but there was definitely more power, more intrinsic I don't know how to say it, but it ran better on waste vegetable oil than it did on diesel. So there's that. Now, this testing is going to be done with diesel only. Once I have the hydrogen and the fog working with diesel, I'm going to get that mileage, and then we'll add the other things, the laser, LED, and we'll continually add things, one thing at a time, to find out what's doing what and what kind of performance we're getting from each thing. Now, starting out, we're doing fog and hydrogen, and we're turning the fuel down. So we're actually leaning it out a little bit, maybe quite a bit. I don't know. What I'm going to be doing is leaning it out and adding vapor while keeping the hydrogen pretty much the same. But what I'm trying to do there is control temperature in the combustion chamber to keep the engine from overheating when it's running lean. So that's the reason for the water vapor, and being able to change the amount of water vapor that's being produced is awesome. That's really going to make a big difference. So I should be able to control temperature. You can't put too much water in, because then you could quench your flame, and you don't want to quench the flame, because that kind of defeats the purpose of an internal combustion engine. So you want to supplement the fuel that's in there, and the hydrogen will be adding fuel. Not a lot, but it will be adding fuel and octane, I guess you could say. The flame front on diesel is very slow. Once you add hydrogen, that flame front speeds up. So the timing is going to speed up. Timing is going to be automatically advanced just by adding the hydrogen. So you can't add too much hydrogen so that the engine wants to ping, because that's pre-detonation. You don't want that. So there's going to have to be a happy medium. And really, this truck runs at a specific RPM most of the time anyway. Right now I'm in town and I'm running about 1200 RPM in fifth gear. Doing about, what am I doing? 33 mile an hour. I couldn't see where that was at. But, low RPM. So, but when I'm on the road, I'm doing about 2200 RPM at 60 miles an hour. All right, we're on the last stretch now. And about 5 minutes, we'll be back to the gas station. Not sure how many minutes this has been. But anyway, so with testing, we're going to be going to eventually we're going to be putting vegetable oil in here, and I probably will use vegetable oil for the long test, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to perform better with the vegetable oil. And it looks like I thought I had a good battery, but it looks like it's about ready to shut off. So we'll see how far this gets. But just to finish the thought, I will be doing waste vegetable oil this time after it's titrated. Before, I would just use straight waste vegetable oil, but it had fats and acids in it. that were detrimental to the fuel system, and it took forever to get the fuel system clean and working properly again after I'd been using that for a long time. So um, before I do any vegetable oil in here, I'm going to make sure the pH is right, about 7.2, 7.4, somewhere in there. And not just filtering, but heating and cooling, getting rid of moisture, getting rid of fat, and getting rid of the acid, get the pH level down. So, or up, I guess. So, yeah, anyway, that's going to be another project, but that's going to be after I do everything else to lead up to that, because I want to know what one thing did what to our mileage. So I'll just say, as far as I know, as far as I can remember, when this was working right and I was doing everything, it was getting around 100 miles to the gallon. Now it sounds crazy. Now, thinking back on it, it sounds pretty damn crazy. But that's why I'm doing this test. Because was my testing flawed? Was something going on that I can't account for? Yeah, I don't know. So that's what this testing is about. I'm about to retire this truck. I got another truck just like it that's going to replace this truck. But before I do retire it, I want to revisit that mileage that I got before and see if I can replicate that, duplicate it. If I can duplicate it, this truck's going to get 100 miles to the gallon. I can drive 1,600 miles on one tank of gas. That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. Especially if you think about it. If it's waste vegetable oil, which was free to me anyway, it won't cost me, I mean, other than food, drinks, whatever, it won't cost me anything to drive 1,600 miles. And that's about what I need to drive. So if I can do that on one tank of gas, I mean, let's go. I'm ready to go. This is a slow truck. It does 60 miles an hour. We're doing right now 55. And that's right around 2,000 RPM. But yeah, she's about to run out of battery, so hopefully it'll make it to the gas station, which is this right up here, before it shuts off, and I can get the fill up on camera, which I realize kind of sucks with my steering wheel in the way where the camera's mounted. But I'll try and get it the best I can, and I'll try to be quick. But this may cut off. I was trying to do this all in one take, but batteries only last so long. So hopefully it's going to last long enough to fill it up and see how many gallons it used. I don't know how many miles we went, so I don't know how many gallons it's going to take. Probably be a couple gallons. All right, let's find out. No, I don't want a receipt. Let's fill her up here. Hopefully the camera is still working. Oh, come on. Now quit that. One and a half, 1.536 is what it took. 1.536. I hope you can see that. If not, maybe I can find my remote and zoom in. Where is the remote? Okay. Well, anyway, I hope you can see that. $1.536, and that was $4.61 for that trip. So I don't know about mileage yet. Don't know how many miles that was. So battery's about to die. I can't find my remote. All right. Well, ain't that something? My buddy Jim would say, ain't that something? Well, now that's crazy. Well, I lost my remote, so I can't shut the camera off. It's gonna run out of battery. Well, maybe I can shut it off here. Anyway, I'll find out when I get home how many miles we went, and I'll add that to the end of this video, and we'll figure out our mileage. All right, so we got our mileage now. We made it back from our first test run to get our base mileage. Turns out base mileage was, oh, here we go. Base mileage was 22.786. So almost 22.8, to round up to 22.8. We drove 35 miles. That round trip test that we do is 35 miles. And we burned 1.536 gallons of diesel. So that gives us 22.786 miles per gallon. That's actually about 50% better than what this truck got when I got it. So we're starting off at 22, almost 23. I mean, you can round up to 23. Or round down to 22. Either way, 22 to 23, my methods of mileage and things like that are dependent on an app, GPS and stuff. So, but yeah, so we got a new filter. You see our new filter here. The old filter, it was just too dirty. So, and I don't know. I mean, it could have been getting 15 with the old filter. I'm not sure. I don't think so. But yeah, we've got everything put together the way it's going to be run. We don't have anything happening. It's just airflow through there. But that airflow is what we had with our first test result, which was 22, almost 23 miles per gallon. Really surprising. I was expecting 15. And it may be that I don't have the fuel turned up as much as I thought. But temperature was 190 to 195. And we were right around 70 degrees, 60 to 70 degrees today. So, and not to mention, you've got heat under the hood. Not as much when you're driving down the road, but it's hotter under the hood for the air intake than it is outside if I had a fresh air intake up here. or on the hood like I had before. Um, and we'll revisit that later. And if I need to, I'll put the other hood on here with the hood scoop so it drops um, cooler air right on top of the air filter. But yeah, so next step is going to be getting hydrogen installed, getting the plumbing done on the vaporizer, and getting the vaporizer installed along with the circuit board on the inside with power and everything, so that I can turn this thing on and operate it from inside the truck. And then we'll go ahead and turn the fuel back down. I'm gonna probably go. I'm gonna probably go 3 turns. I'm not sure if that's going to be complete turns or just 3 turns. Anyway, I'm going to start with 3 turns and keep track of how many times I've turned the metering valve screw. Um, I'll keep track of that in a log in the truck, so I always know at any point wherever that screw is how to get it back to where it is now. So if I go too far, if I get too lean, I don't have enough hydrogen, or the fog starts to quench the flame, or the temperature gets too hot. Any of those things, that's how I'm going to be able to manage um, the system. And so we're looking to get 195 to 200 degrees, no more than 200 on a hot day. And if I lean it out and have the same amount of hydrogen and all of the water vapor, and it's still overheating, then I know that I've leaned it out too far. And at that point, the only other thing that I could do is either turn the screw back in or out, whichever way that is. But anyway, richen the mixture enough to where the temperature stays where I want it, or switch to a different fuel at that level and see if the other fuel um, increases the caloric, I guess the caloric value of the fuel. In other words, it has more energy per density. I believe that's the case with the vegetable oil. So if I'm running too lean on the diesel, it may be fine on the vegetable. So, and that's what we'll find out when we get to that point. But before I get to that point, I'm going to be doing everything except for changing fuel. And the last thing I'll do is change the fuel. And the main reason for that is I'm starting off as basic as I can to see what kind of improvements I get from each thing as it's added. I know I need hydrogen. I know I need water vapor to control temperature. The hydrogen helps to replace some of the fuel that I'm deleting, and the water vapor helps produce horsepower, which gives us more torque, which gives us less gas pedal, and also controls temperature. So I know I need those things in order to turn that fuel down, because if you run any engine too lean, it's going to overheat and then you'll burn a piston. So we don't want to do that. This truck's probably got, on this motor build 30 years ago, it's probably got I would say 600,000 miles, maybe 800,000, somewhere in there. Between 600 and 800,000 miles is what I estimate that I've put on this truck. So I had it rebuilt right after I got it. Hardly had any miles on it when I got it myself, but it had already been spun over, I don't know, maybe 3 times. I'm estimating that this truck had 300 to 400,000 miles on it before I got it. It was 10 years old when I got it. So, it's 46 years old now. what's that, 35 years I've had this thing. So, more actually. So, in that amount of time, this was my only truck. I used it for everything. It was my daily driver most of that time. I'd have a car here and there, van or something to put miles on, but this was my work truck, and for doing work, I always used it. And so anyway, I'm thinking that this motor, this truck itself, has more than 1,000,000 miles on it with one rebuild, the one I did, or I had done. I didn't do the rebuild. They had to put sleeves in because of cavitation. Apparently, it was a construction truck, and apparently the construction company didn't do great maintenance, and the water that was in the radiator was rust. So there was no protection for the backside of the cylinder where cavitation happens, right there where the heat is, next to the combustion chamber and the cooling jacket. And so you get the pitting on the backside of the cylinder until it actually breaks a hole through into the cylinder from the cooling jacket, and then you get water in your exhaust and belts out some pretty serious steam. I think it would probably already have the holes in it before I got it, and they threw some sawdust in there just to close up the holes, let it build pressure without leaking too bad. And I had it for a week, and it blew all the damn water out. So yeah, I was younger, a lot younger then. And so ain't nothing against being young. Everybody's young if they live to be old. So anyway, there we are. We've got our first test done. We got our plumbing done. Next step is going to be starting putting the vaporizer and hydrogen in here, and then turning the fuel down, seeing how it runs, making sure it doesn't overheat, and then taking it for a test drive, making sure it's running fine, that we're not too lean. And when I get where I'm comfortable with the truck, then we'll go ahead and do a mileage test after I get all those things done. So that'll be in the next video. We'll see how far we get, but the goal is to get this system put on here and get a test done and see what kind of improvements, if any, that we get from doing that. I don't see how we can't get improvements, but we're already starting out way higher than I did last time I did this testing. Last time I did this testing 15 years ago or something, I think it was 15 miles per gallon. It always had been. So, we've got a few things going on. We got some heat here. I don't know if you can see this, but this copper pipe coming into the filter housing runs next to the exhaust on this side. So there's exhaust tape around, and it runs next to the exhaust. So as the exhaust is going out, it heats up the fuel coming into this fuel separator filter. And also we have magnets installed. Those magnets may or may not do anything. I don't know. And we have air filter, brand new air filter. So combination of those things, and where the metering valve screw is right now. I don't know if I got it all the way back or if I just moved it back far enough to roll some coal out when I had my foot in it. I don't know. But regardless, we're getting 7 miles per gallon more to start with this time than we got the first time, which is almost a 50%. It's 45% increase in mileage already without doing anything that I can't account for, other than what I just went through, the fuel being heated and new air filter. And really, it shouldn't have anything to do with that ductwork right there. That should not affect mileage. It should have a negligible effect, if any. So yeah, I can't identify the culprit, why we're getting 22 now versus 15, but that's our baseline without doing anything. That's what we're starting with Um, and we're going to go from there. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, you might as well subscribe and follow along for the rest of it. Um, I'm going to try to make it as entertaining as I can, but in the meantime, maybe you'd be learning something, or maybe just killing time watching me do something. So either way, like, subscribe if you like the video, and we'll see you on the next one.